to start the day off, a breakfast polenta with honeyed fruits. I'm a bit of a creature of habit, and I do love my oatmeal in the morning, but sometimes it feels good to make a switch. And breakfast polenta with honeyed fruits is another sort of comfort food, almost like oatmeal, but it's a little more colorful. A hardy or sturdy fruit like apple or pear keep their structure and they absorb all the other flavors that I add in. A little trick to making a compote is knowing the different ripeness or firmness of your fruits and cooking them appropriately so they're all the same texture at the end. So I'm actually starting with the apple because it's firmer than the plums and the peaches that I picked up at the market earlier. A little splash of water, just a touch, to start the apples cooking. So I'm gonna toss in a cinnamon stick, a couple of star anise. They lend just a subtle licorice flavor to the compote. And a few whole cloves. So I'm gonna add a few pitted prunes. I like to give them a little squeeze just to make sure that the pit is not in there. So I've got my dried plums in the pot already and then my fresh plums here. And even though they're green on the inside, they impart such a luscious purple color to the entire compote. Those apples have started already. Just a touch of honey. And I've got my peaches here. Sometimes I like to use fresh apricots too, but it really depends on what's in season. Ooh, it's a beautiful Freestone peach. And big chunky pieces to match the size of the apples and the plums. That peach smells good even before I start cooking it. Polenta is just so wholesome and makes an ideal breakfast because I make it with all milk that I'll get heating to just a simmer. And one of the ultimate feel-good flavors, vanilla. Just half a bean I find is enough because I'm not making dessert, this is breakfast. So I like to give it a little squish just to loosen the beans inside. And then open it up down the middle. Ooh, this is a nice fat vanilla bean pod. And with the back of my paring knife, scrape out the seeds. And just add that in. And just like when you have to measure your oatmeal into your water when you make it in the morning, you do the same for your cornmeal to milk ratio. You can see how the prunes have already started to plump up a little bit, and those apples are almost translucent, so they've softened up enough that I can add my peaches and plums. That purple color is just gonna bleed and infuse into every other fruit. Look at that, the bubbles are just breaking the surface of the milk, so it's time to get my polenta going. So I start with a whisk. To avoid the lumps, you just slowly drizzle it in, whisking at the same time. Takes a little coordination. There we go. I like to switch to a spoon. That way I can get into the corners of the pot as it cooks up. The plums are softening up. Something to remember when making polenta is that it keeps thickening even when you take it off the heat. And by the time it sits for about 30 seconds, it actually thickens up even more. So it's easy to eat with a spoon. And I can feel it pulling at the bottom of the pot a little bit, which tells me that it's getting close to being done. I do like to sweeten it up just with a little bit of honey, and this is wholly to taste, just like when you do your oatmeal at home. Yes, the fruits, the plum and the prune. A little bit of yogurt, also cools it down just a little bit. Now, this is a feel-good breakfast.